so much for joining. Thank you, Julie James. Thank you, Liki. Thank you. Good to see you. Frank Moturi, I see you. Thank you so much for joining. Tag a friend. Invite someone. Thank you, Martin. Good to see you. Karibu, karibu. Thank you, Shiko Moirore. Thank you, Auntie, for joining. Invite someone, tag a friend. Let's get blessed together. Thank you, Lucy. Kay Papito, good to see you. Tag a friend, invite someone. Thank you, Millicent, Diana, Simon, I see you. Thank you so much for joining. Tag a friend, tag a family member. Today is the last show of 2020. So we are giving thanks to the Lord. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jane Gatera. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Auntie. I see you. Thank you for following. Thank you for hanging out on Sundays with me the whole year. I am so grateful. Thank you. Yes, he nailed it. He nailed this song. Jehovah. I apologize for those that don't understand. It's talking about the hand of God, the powerful hand of God, and how when it's at work, no one and nothing can stop it. And I believe his hand is at work today in your life, in my life, in the world. Even though it looks like things are falling apart, I believe the work of God, the hand of God is at work in our lives. And so I'm so grateful today. I'm grateful to God for this opportunity, for a new day, for a new chance. Whew, I am grateful. My heart is full of gratitude, and I hope you are too. Not because everything is going right, not because I don't have any needs, not because everything I wanted to come to pass has come to pass. No, but where I am so grateful to God for seeing me through. We started this year, this show started on January 12th. That's when it was launched. And to be honest, I didn't know what I was doing. I did not know if it was my madness or I was hearing the voice of God to tell me to do this. But I I took a risk and I decided to obey. I'd rather obey and be wrong than disobey and have to deal with the wrath of God, you know. So I decided to do it. If I make a fool of myself, hey, so be it. But I am so grateful today that 10.5 months after, thousands and thousands of people have been touched. You guys have been there. You have given me so much support, so much love. I did not see it coming. And I am so, so grateful that God anointed you to be my supporter, to be my audience. So I don't take it for granted. I am so very grateful. And so today, even as I conclude this year with this show, I want you to look back into your life and see, I know it's been troubling. I know it's been shaky. I know things don't make sense. I know some of us can't tell if we are going forward or backwards. It's hard to tell which way we are going right now. And we don't know how long it will be shaky. We don't know how long it will be like this. But guess what? One thing is certain. Whoever God is holding the heavens and the earth is still in control. He cares for us. At least we know one thing, and we can rest in one thing, that his love for us is secure. We can rest in that love. We can rest in the fact that he says the plans he has for us are for good and not evil. And so we can rest in the fact that he said he will never leave us nor forsake us. And so even when the world is shaking, when our jobs are shaking, when the health system is shaking, when everything is shaking around us, we can hold on to that word. This is the time. If you didn't know Christ, man, you better find out who he is. You better find out who he really is and hold on to even his garment, like that woman in the Bible. Hold on to something about God. Hold on to his word. Because, man, if you don't, this place is not secure anymore, you know? And so thank you so much. Thank you everyone that's joining. Kiama, Sally, Millie, thank you so much, Regina. Thank you, Grace Chege. Thank you, Peter Jenga. Thank you so much for all the love and all the support. And so even as we look back and see how troubling and how chaotic 2020 was, I want us to come here and just be grateful to God. Because truly and surely, even for us to be alive right now, like I'm breathing through my own system, you are, I hope, breathing in your own system. God has sustained us. God has provided hope for us. God has protected us. There are many that have died. Millions have died out of these things. Hundreds of thousands, 500,000 people, I believe. I don't know the count right now. But so many people have died this year, like never before, because of this corona. But you and I are still here. So we have a reason. We do have a reason to say, God, you deserve every praise. You deserve every honor. And so I want to talk to you today about that attitude of being grateful, attitude of gratitude, because it's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. You can be grateful today and be ungrateful tomorrow. It's something you need to adopt into your life, because when you are grateful, you stay in remembrance of what God has done before. And so you cannot be a Christian that is walking by faith and have amnesia. You know that sickness where you forget past issues and past things that happened? We cannot have that, because when we have amnesia and we are Christians, that means what God did for us last year and what God did us last night, what God did us for us 10 years ago, it is enough reason to make us continue walking by faith. Because when we forget what God has done, we become ungrateful. We forget and we start becoming complainers. The opposite of being grateful is becoming a whiner, a complainer, someone who is never satisfied, someone who is never grateful for what God is doing. And so even, I don't know if you have been around someone who never appreciates anything. Like, it could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a child, it could be a friend. And whatever you do, they never tend to be okay. They seem to see the negative and ignore what you did. And so people like that are very hard to please. they are just spoiled. And it's an attitude. You know, when we are young, when we are kids, our parents start telling us, listen, if someone do something good to you, or if someone give you something nice, or try make an effort to be good to you, be grateful, say thank you. So this is a childhood lesson. But when you miss it from that time, you become ungrateful, you become entitled, you feel like I deserve to be treated like that. Even as a parent, there are things we are supposed to do to our children and for our children, and that is the basic needs. Give them food, give them shelter, give them whatever it is that they need. But guess what? Sometimes we go beyond, above and beyond, and try to give them better. We try to give them more than they actually have deserved. Not because they have been nice throughout, not because they are very obedient, just because you have a desire to please this child. But if you ever see a child, you're doing your best, and then they never appreciate, every time they feel like, oh, but I wanted this, oh, but I wanted that, that's a moment, a teaching moment. And you should take that opportunity and teach that child this. Being grateful is a very good thing. Because if they take that attitude throughout their life, no one will be able to please them for the rest of their life. Never. And that's a hard person to live with. That's a hard person to live by. And so today I want us to look at how we really do have reasons to thank God, even though it has been a tough year, even though things that you always wanted have not come to pass yet, even though maybe you might have lost someone or something, maybe you don't even have a job. You know, when these things started, I was among the first people to lose my job. I have to tell you that. And so I'm not saying this because God has sustained, didn't lose anything. I have been home for pretty much the whole year. So I do know that people have lost things. I do know that there are plans I had in the beginning of the year. I planned to travel and I couldn't, because obviously now my job has been stopped, my finances have been affected, and now I have to postpone my plans. And I know so many of us had to do that. But guess what? At the end of the day, we can still look back and see, yeah, I didn't travel like I wanted to. I didn't earn this amount of money like I had set my budget, but I'm alive. But I'm well, I'm healthy. I still have a place to lay my head. I still have food. I still have health in my body. We can look back and do that. Because if we don't do that, we become, I don't know if you know, obviously if you're being a Christian, you know the story about the Israelites and how God sent Moses to rescue them from the Egyptian bondage. But over and over again, you see the Israelites complaining. From the very word go, Moses went and told Pharaoh, listen, God wants you to release his people because they need to go and worship the Lord in the wilderness. And obviously Pharaoh said no. But because of that attempt, Pharaoh increased the workload. And so they began working harder than they ever did before. And so they started complaining and saying, why did you even come to talk about delivering us? Look what it did to us. Now we are working harder. We are trained. We are being mistreated more because you came and said all those nonsense about delivering us. So they did see it as a good thing. And God let it pass because he know they have been in bondage too long. They don't know God like they should. And so their mind has been drained by these Egyptian gods and their way of worship. So he let it slide. And even when he delivered them and pulled them and let them carry all the gold and silver from the Egyptian masters and took them to the wilderness, when they saw the Red Sea, they complained again. They said, Moses, were there not enough graves in Egypt that you brought us here to die? They complained again. God knew these people don't know me like they should, so I'll let it slide. And so he opened the Red Sea. We know that story. He opened the Red Sea and they watched God drain and drown all the Pharaoh and his chariots and his men. Now, on the other side, they walked a little bit and they find a place, but they needed water and the water was bitter. And what did they start doing? Moses, what are you doing? You brought us here to die? Like, I really honor Moses because Moses had patience. Yes, he did have patience. I don't know if I would have been that good. But they started complaining again. Why did you bring us here to die? This water is bitter. And God did a miracle again. So God has done miracle after miracle after miracle. And all this time, he's trying to earn their trust. He's trying to tell them, listen, you are with a God that will provide anything you need. You are with a God that will make a way in the sea if he needs to. You are with a God that will drown your enemies if they try to come after you. But they kept ignoring and forgetting what God did before. And over again, they went a little bit and the food they had carried from Egypt was over. And now they started complaining, oh, Moses, we are hungry. What are we going to eat? Oh, da, 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 da. You can even imagine, I can feel it. If you have imagination, you can even imagine how hard it was on Moses to keep telling them, listen, God did this for you. Can't you believe him to do the next thing? But they complained and complained and complained over and over again. And guess what? God rained manna. So every time they complained, God did something. Every time they complained, God did something. And it got to a place where God got angry. Because I'm like, I have been doing miracle after miracle. And obviously you have been overlooking what I am doing and complaining over and over again. And so eventually the whole generation of complainers ended up dying in the wilderness. They ended up dying in the wilderness because even as close as the promised land as they were, right? They were so close to the promised land, like they could see it on the other side of River Jordan. Yet they are complaining. When God drowned their enemies, opened the Red Sea, gave them manna, gave them water, killed their enemies in the wilderness. All this time, they never once remembered what God did for them before. And so they started complaining again. And this becomes an attitude of complaining, seeing the worst in every situation. But that attitude will not take you far. In fact, it's an attitude of a failure, being pessimistic all the time. When you have to be a winner, you have to adopt an attitude of optimism, looking for the best. And you cannot look for the best if you cannot remember what has been done before. Now, as the Israelites, God has performed miracle after miracle in our lives. If I start a testimony group, or if I start a testimony like show, I will have something to say every day of my life because I have a lot of testimonies, things that God have done, miracles that he has performed, ways he has made for me, healing he has done for me. But if I get here and I get a cold and I start complaining, while God has healed me many times before, then I have become ungrateful. And it's very easy to get God angry because you all of a sudden forget what he has done before, and now you take up complaining. You see yourself surrounded in trouble. But all this time, all these things you were facing before, he was trying to prove to you, I am God, and whenever you need me, I will be there. But you don't have to complain. You don't have to act like I am not powerful enough. You have to come to me with prayer and supplication. And he showed us how to do that in Philippians 4:6-7. He says, do not worry about anything. This is a New Living Translation. It says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard our hearts and our minds as you live in, if you guard your heart and your mind as you live in Christ Jesus. So that's how we have to go even now that we don't see tomorrow, even now that we don't know what tomorrow brings. we cannot sit down and complain, because that means we have forgotten what God has done before. We have to sit down here and say, God, you say don't worry about anything. This is hard not to worry, because I don't know what I will do when month end comes. I don't have the rent. I don't have the money. But God says, don't worry. Come to me and tell me what it is you need in prayer. Right? Tell God what you need. Pray about everything. Little and big things. Pray about everything. And tell God what it is that you want him to do. But thank him for all he has done. Thank him, because even as you're asking for this thing, it's because you are alive, you have a mouth to ask, you have a mind to think, you know what you need. That means he's already provided a lot so far. And so now you can come to him and ask him, God, I need a job. God, I don't have money to feed my family. God, I don't have transport to take me to work. I don't have this, I don't have that. But thank you, because I have been in a situation like this before and you provided. I have been in a situation where I lacked and you provided. I have been sick and you healed me. And so even now, your power has not changed. You have not been demoted. You say you don't change from beginning, middle, and end. You never change. And so I trust that even now, you will come through for me. Even now, you will do what you need to do for me. And so I will go to God, tell him what I need. I need a job. I need this kind of favor. I need this kind of favor, and ask him to do it. But in the process, thank him for what he's already done. And what God does, it might not happen tomorrow when you ask for a job today. It might not happen next week. It might happen after 2 weeks. But between now and the time that miracle will be done, God will give you peace to keep your mind and your heart. That way you will not go crazy. That way you will not lose your mind. That way you will not pull out your hair. That way you will not fall into depression. He will keep your mind and your heart in good state. That way when he's working behind the scenes, when he's busy working your miracle, you will have your mind. You will have your heart. You will not be drowned by all those issues you are facing. And so we have to be very, very grateful for what we have seen God do. See, like now, over and over again, I don't know, there have been times that felt like the devil has called in the SWAT team, the NYPD, whatever, police department, and all his arms, and to give them my address, because it felt like, oh my God, I'm about to die. I'm about to lose it. Like this time I was in high school, I think in Form 2, and I got sick. I had pneumonia, but I was misdiagnosed with malaria. And so I'm in a boarding school. My family is in Kiabu. I'm in Moranga, which you know is like 3 hours apart. And I am sick. And every time I go to the school nurse, she gives me some pain medicine. And then later on, they started sending me to the dispensary. And in the dispensary, they misdiagnosed me with malaria. And they gave me malaria queen and everything that cures malaria. And now I'm back at school and I'm not feeling any better. In fact, I'm getting sicker and sicker. And I kept going back to the nurse and they would just tell me, hey, go take more medicine. And a week after, I was so sick that I could not stand on my own 2 feet. And now they realized, whoa, this thing is serious. And so they took me to the nearest major hospital. And so when I got there, the doctor that was assessing me, the assessment team mentioned to the matron, wait, why did you keep her so long in school? Did you want her to die? And I was shocked. I said, whoa, did he say die? That I could actually die? You know, and that was like, wow, am I that sick? And I started worrying. And the way they acted after that started showing me, whoa, this thing is serious. They put me in a stretcher and they rushed me into the ICU. And as soon as they transferred into the bed, they poked me and started draining, dripping whatever they had to medicine or whatever that, I don't know what that was. So And I realized, wait a second, man, I am that sick. And the room they took me to, the only open room they had was a room, like, I think it had 10 or 12 beds, and most of them, of the patients in that room, were older women, geriatrics. And I was like, okay, I didn't care where I was, just treat me, you know. But when I started coming to myself, I realized it's just older women who are hallucinating all day, all night. They are talking out loud and talking, calling their children names. And then every morning they'll come and pull out a dead body from that ward, ICU. And they'll come the next morning and pull out another body. One day they pulled out 2 dead people. And one of them was the lady next to me. And I said, whoa, this is not good. People are dying next to me. What if I die? What is this? You know, and I started seeing how serious this situation was. And 4 days after that, I was well enough to go home. And they told me they have been discharged. And when I walked out of that hospital on my own 2 feet, I remember looking back and I said, wow, I would have died in this place. And now I have that as an altar. We have to build altars. Remember when the Israelites and even people long time ago, David, Jacob, all these people, Moses, when God did something, they built an altar. They put a remembrance. And when they did that because they want to remember what God did. They want to always remember what he did for them at that particular time. And so we have to have altars. Even though we might not build an altar, an actual altar, you have to put those things in your mind, what God has done for you. When I look back, and many times after that, I have been sick, right? And I was supposed to, if anything was supposed to happen, I was supposed to die alone because my family is all the way in Kiabu. I'm in Moranga, and they don't even know that I'm in the hospital until later. And now, even here, when I moved to America, you all know the story of how I was banned. I was in the hospital alone, my family in Kenya. And so I look back and I see how anytime I was sick, most of the time I was alone. And if it was not for God, I would not have survived it. And so we have to learn to build altars, to build remembrances. Altar is pretty much a remembrance. Like this book right here, it's supposed to be an altar. When I look at this book, I don't see it like just a book. I know that's an altar that I will remember for the rest of my life. And generations will read and hear what God did in this instant. And so if we forget what God did for us, if I get sick a little bit and forget what God did for me back then, that he healed me over and over again. Man, the devil has set me up, has tried to take my life many times. And God has snatched me out of it. God has continually snatched me out of every situation that the enemy has set up. And so it would be very bad for me to forget what God has done for me. And anytime I meet an obstacle, I start complaining. That just shows I have forgotten what God has done, or I have ignored the miracles he has done for me. And that's a very dangerous spirit, because eventually God doesn't have to keep proving himself to you. He has proved enough that he is God. He has done enough miracles that you can look back and say, wow, God did this for me. If it was not for God, I wouldn't have done this. If it was not for God, this would not have happened. God has proved himself over and over and over in your life. And so now you have a record of who God is in your life. And so not only you, your children are supposed to know what God has done for you. Your grandchildren are supposed to hear what God did for you, because we are supposed to transfer those miracles and those wonders that God did for us generation to generation. When I talk to my mom, she tells me over and over again things that God did for her in her life. And even when I face a situation, sometimes I don't remember God doing something like that for me. I remember my mom saying, God pulled me out. God did this for me. God did that for me. So we can be quiet. We have to keep sharing with our children, with our grandchildren, what God did for us. Not only because we want to praise God at that particular time, but we want to give them faith. We want to encourage them. So when they come to such a situation, they will trust that the God that did it for you will do it for them. So we have to learn. And another way we can keep our faith and keep our hope is by remembering our promises. Because just like we have our past, God has shown himself strong in our past. But he also has given us promises. Things that he has put ahead of us. Things that he has whispered in your spirit and said, listen, before you leave this earth, you will do this, you will do that, you will do this. You will acquire this, you will acquire that. And if you don't have a promise from God, seek him and he will give you a promise that you can stand on. Things that will give you strength when you're faced with situation. It's because he said, just like he did for people like David and Joseph, he said, you will rule, you will be the king in Israel. And so it doesn't matter what comes along the way. It doesn't matter who tries to kill you along the way. Goliath can come, but he can't kill you. Because remember, you have been anointed in the next king in Israel. So there's nothing. Disease can stop you. Divorce, corona, whatever can come your way cannot stop you. Because you have been anointed to do something with your life. And so when you look back and see what God has done, and then you look forward and see the promises that he has given you, then you have the power, you get the strength to hope on and to trust that the God that promised that and the God that pulled you out in the past is with you at this particular moment, even though you don't feel him, even though you don't see him at this particular time. He is around you. He is with you. And he is working things behind the scenes. And later on, you will see what he did. There have been times in my life that I have complained and didn't understand what God was doing. Because at the moment, it didn't feel like he was with me. At the moment, the things that were going around me felt like he has abandoned me. But later on, when I came to realize what was happening, when he brings the whole picture to me, I had to go back and repent and say, God, forgive me for complaining. Forgive me for complaining when this was happening. Forgive me when I complained because this person left my life. Forgive me for complaining when this person betrayed me, because it was a way of removing them out of my life because they didn't belong there in the first place. Now, you have to have an attitude of gratitude. If you have been around people who are never grateful, you do this and they say, oh, but what if you bring someone sugar and instead of appreciating the sugar you brought, they say, but you would have brought bread too. Duh, why did you bring sugar by itself? That's a very ungrateful spirit, and it's not good to live if I can't tolerate it. I can't tolerate it, and I know you can't either. But what about God, who have performed miracle after miracle after miracle into our lives and for us? And now when we hit a little bump later on, we forget what he has done. We have amnesia now. We forget and we start complaining. Oh, what do I do? Why do you let these bumps come only on my way? How come she didn't do that? How come the other person didn't fight this bump? You start complaining. You are supposed to remember what God has done for you. And when you do remember, anytime you have those altars, those memories, like that song said, the hand of God is at work. But when he does something for you, build an altar. By building an altar might be testify. Tell someone what God has done for you. And during this time, this is the time we are supposed to meditate on what God has done so far. He has pulled me out. I have been in a situation where I could not afford the rent, especially when I was in Nairobi and I was in business. And all of a sudden, I lost my job and business was not doing good. And the landlord came and locked my tiny apartment. And I came home and there were 2 padlocks. And I was like, Okay, it's like 8 p.m. at night. There are 2 dogs, and I'm supposed to sleep. And I had to literally like break into that apartment to get in. And then the following day, I had to figure out where to get the rent. So I know, even after that, even during that time, that's what I can look back and see how God has provided for me. And even now, whether I have a job or I don't, it doesn't matter. Because the way he came through for me then, I know he will come today. All I need is to ask him and pray for it. And remember, whoa, I remember that time that I didn't have rent and you came through, God. So I know you will still come. And God enjoys hearing us praise him, hearing us worship him, because we are remembering what he is doing. So we cannot be ungrateful. We cannot be spoiled people that when he gives us food, we ask him, but I wanted to travel. What about the travel? Appreciate the food. Appreciate the place to sleep. Appreciate what you have at this moment. But tell him, but Father, I also want to travel. So at your own time, I would really want to travel. I would really want to go to see my family. So help me to be able to achieve that. But thank you that I have food, that I have shelter, that I have clothing, that my family is fine, that I'm healthy. All these things. There's so much we can say. And when we do say that, when we do that, God will appreciate the fact that we are grateful for what he has done, and he will give us the next thing. He will give us what it is that he's expecting us to do. And so all of us are in a place right now that we can easily complain. But remember, his hand is at work. We might not see it, we might not feel it, but his hand is at work. But don't let you be one of the people that will die in the wilderness because you did not remember what God did for you before. Don't let yourself be among that group that we have to wait here so the complainers can die away. Be grateful. Remember what God has done for you. One of my good friend, and he's watching, told me how he struggled. He had a sickness before, and how when he listened to me and he can relate to what God has done for him because he has done it for me too. And it's that attitude, when we're in that attitude of remembering what God pulled us from, then we can look forward and say, but if I'm alive, if I'm still here, that means God is not done for me. If he saved me from that place, there are so many people that have died from abusive situations. Just the same way I would have died in that. But God pulled me out because he had a bigger purpose. Not because I'm better than those that died, but if he pulled you out, it's because you have a bigger purpose ahead of you. But you can't sit here and whine and complain. If you had to lose your house, still, I know it's hard. I know it's terrible, and I know it feels hard when you have to readjust. When others are buying houses you lost, when you had to downgrade and others are upgrading, it's not easy. But still, trust me, God is at work. And when he comes through, you will look back and see, now I see what you are doing. Now I see why you allowed this to happen. Now I see. Because when he allowed this to happen, when he allowed me to be abused, I felt rejected. I felt abandoned. I felt all that pain. And I wondered why everyone else seems to have a thriving marriage and mine fell apart. But now when I look back, I apologize for even thinking like that. And I thank him because now I see truly his ways and my ways are so different. His thoughts and my thoughts will never ever be the same. And so even though I don't understand what is going on now, I can look back and say, but you know what? You are God and I am not. You know better than I do. I can only see where my eyes can see, but you can see eternity. And so now I trust you with my life. I trust you with my decisions. Whatever you want me to do right now, if you want me to downgrade, hey, I'm all yours. Do whatever you want to do with me. Do whatever you want to do in my situation. Because at the end of the day, your plans are better and they are for good, to give me a future and a hope. And so when we are grateful like that, God appreciates that we see his power, that we know he will come through for us. That's a step of faith. That's faith. Like, because now you can see, you believe and you trust in God. Because all these other things we can trust in can be changed and can be moved anytime. And so I really just wanted to bring that forward and ask you, even as we go into the holidays, it might not be the usual Christmas we used to have, because things have changed. A lot has changed. We might not even have to travel, be able to travel like we wanted to. Some of us might not even have that much gifts like we are used to. Our kids are still expecting us to give them gifts, but we might have to explain ourselves. This is not the usual Christmas. But guess what? If you're alive, if you can still breathe, if you still can see your children and they are healthy and they are well, thank God for that. And let him do whatever it is he's doing. Because even though the devil feels like he's winning, because Corona has done this, has taken your job, has taken your person, has taken this, he's never gonna win. At the end of the day, God will win. But we have to trust him with our lives. We have to trust him with our decisions and tell him, even though I don't know what to do this Christmas with my children, even January is coming and their school fees coming and I don't know what to do, just rest in his word. Rest in the fact that he is God and he knows what he's doing and he will bring you out. You might have to go down before you come up, but still trust him. That is the only way you can live and not lose your mind and not go crazy and not go into depression and not become suicidal. Why? Because you trust God to do what it is he wanted to do. Trust him. I believe at the end of this, he will come through more powerfully than ever before, especially for those of us that trust him, right? So today, being our last show on this year, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your company. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for every message that you sent on my messenger. Anytime you replied to a show, any day you shared, all that has been helping me to continue moving. Like I said before, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if it was my craziness or I really was hearing God to tell me to do this. But clearly, God was at work. Clearly, he has helped me. And clearly, he has used you to motivate me, to inspire me, to encourage me, to support me. Any way you supported, even by buying books, buying t-shirts, anyway, I am so grateful. Some of you guys, I have some people that gave me, shared their platform with me. There's people like ebook, Trumpet of Hope, KDR TV, thank you so much. One Word Media, Samrak, Karen Beathy, thank you so much. And even yesterday I had a show with a great woman, African Women Empowerment Network, Catherine. Thank you so much for everyone that shared their platform with me. I am so humbled. You have no idea. And so my heart is full of gratitude for you, for God, and for every single thing that he has done for us. And so for Christmas, I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and if it's God's will, we will meet back January after the first, the first week of January. And so I will keep you updated. Hey, stay in touch. Don't just, be quiet. You can hit me up. You can text me. The website is still on www.sknama.com. It's new. I'm still getting used to it. Where you can purchase your book, you can purchase your t-shirt, and you can book me, because now I'm available to go to venues to speak. And so you can actually go there online and book me for whatever occasion you have. But for now, I will take a break and I will enjoy the holidays, and I will listen to what my boss is saying, God, who is my boss, is saying, and I will meet you back here in January. So I'm very, very, very grateful for you guys, and I pray that you have a beautiful, beautiful Christmas. And it doesn't matter whether you have chapati, like when I was growing up, we had chapati, and if you don't have chapati, that is not Christmas. So, but I pray that even whether you have chapati or whether you have the best dish you ever wanted or not, hey, God is still in control. If you have breath, if you have life, continue staying safe. Continue washing your hands. Continue observing whatever it is to keep yourself safe. But remember, the plans God has for you are for good and not evil. Come 2021, I believe we will see a new move of God. God finally showing us what he was doing, what behind the scenes. When we didn't see him, when we didn't understand him, he will start showing us, oh, I was rearranging your promotion. I was rearranging your career. I was pulling you from being employed to being an employer. And so we will see what God was doing behind the scene. For now, be blessed. May God keep you. May God protect you. May God make his light to shine upon your life. And I am so, so grateful for you. I will see you in January, but I'm still on Facebook. So check me out, hit me up, and I will talk back to you. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful Christmas holidays. Bye.